While a lot of the other Locked On NHL shows are doing a Mount Rushmore for their franchises, because Utah Hockey Club is a new franchise, we thought we might project a future Mount Rushmore. Plus, Utah Hockey Club has unveiled their inaugural logo. We'll give you our thoughts all in today's episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast.
You are Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the show, everybody. This is Locked On Utah Hockey Club, your number one daily podcast on the Utah Hockey Club. I am your host, Robyn Leonio, alongside Tom Callahan. We want to thank everyone for making this show your first listen every single day. We are free and available everywhere you get your shows. We got a great show in today's episode. We're going to get to that Mount Rushmore in a little bit. I think a lot of you guys are probably wondering what we're going to be doing and what we're thinking about that for that. But I think first, Tom, let's talk about this inaugural season logo because it's been getting a lot of hate across fans outside of the Utah fan base.
I think part of the reaction is just people like, especially lately, Robyn, we've talked about this. People like to dump on things just to dump on them.
Mm-hmm.
It's in fashion. It's in vogue to take something that somebody else came up with and pronounce it crap. And that's just what people are doing.
Also, now that the Coyotes are gone, they still have to project that hate somewhere, right?
True. Especially, the folks who are spurned in Arizona. I get it.
Well, not even that though. Like the ones that, like, let's say the Toronto Maple Leafs fans, right? Who their main mission was to talk low on the Coyotes any chance they can get. But now that they're gone, they can't do that anymore. So they try to project somewhere. So the best way to do it is like, well, Utah used to be the Coyotes technically, so let's go rag on them.
Yeah, it's too easy to pick on Ottawa if you're a Toronto fan. But seriously, in all seriousness, yeah, I do see a lot of people, fans from different places around the country, just kind of piling on this one. And I don't really see a reason for it. I think that Utah, as we get a look at it on screen, if you're watching this on YouTube, what they've done with this logo is in keeping with everything they've done so far. It's simple. It uses their color. Their primary color is that baby blue and the black and the white. And they're just, it's a really well done logo. It is clear. It's legible. It incorporates the mountains on the top into a badge and a shape that will make a patch that'll go on t-shirts and sweatshirts and hats. It is well done. It is simple. It is immediately identifiable. And I think there is not only nothing wrong with this logo, but I think they've done a really good job putting it together. And it follows their design ethos so far of simplicity. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't need crazy intricacy in everything we do in everyday life. It's okay to be simple.
And here's the thing, Tom. When it comes to, like, I think we're in the era of simplicity again. Like you take a look at for example, I'm going to use Florida as an example here. You take a look at Florida's logo, like, in the 2000s, right? It was even the early 2010s, where it was like this super detailed panther jumping at you, and it was a lot. It really was a lot going on. And then they decided, all right, we're gonna turn it into flat, because everything is now becoming more flat, and flat and simple. Which, because it works, it's not only is it simple, because again, when it works at printing and other logos, it's easier, but also it just, like, you're realizing that simple is actually more pleasing on the eye, really. I'm also a huge I'm a subscriber to that KISS principle, Tom, that keep it simple, stupid, because that's all you really need. Because if you try to put too much detail and put too much thought into it, and just too much just throw everything at it, and then it really just opens things up to a lot of extra unnecessary work, just unnecessary topics of conversation. Just like, what is going on here? It's too much going on.
In the 1990s, teams that came into the league, then if you look back at their logos, there was a lot of that. And the easiest example I can give you, if you want to fire up your Googles and searches, look for the Nashville Predators, their initial logo. I was there working for the team when they transitioned from what was a 6-color logo to a 2-color logo. They went blue and yellow. But before that, it was light blue, dark blue, red, orange, silver, and yellow. That's crazy. Plus, you know, you're black and white. So that, number one, printing costs are exorbitant on that. Embroidery was insane because there were 6 different colors that needed to be done, and it was intricate. That cat head was so intricate. The new cat head goes down to 2 colors. It's easier to reproduce. It just, there's so many advantages to it, but also you're right. The design aesthetic now for the last 10 years or so has really kind of gone around to flattening, simplifying, in some cases more of an outline, the interior details of logos. The Panthers are a great example from that era as well. They were a 90s expansion team. There was so much that was done with those logos. Columbus Blue Jackets, they've gotten simpler over the years. That's another team born of that era. We've seen the Senators go through a couple of different iterations, but even they've come back around to kind of flattening things out a little bit. So it's really interesting to see the way what goes around comes around.
I mean, take a look at the evolution of the Ducks, right? It was a
Right.
lot. I mean, they did have a lot going on. It was it iconic? Yeah, it was really popular, but then they kind of made it simple. They went back to that logo again, the original logo, but now we're using a simpler color scheme.
Well, and the thing is that eggplant and tealish kind of color scheme that they had before was in keeping with the times. Those colors were
Right.
hot in the 90s. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Just like as San Jose with its teal, that was big back then. There's not a whole lot of people launching into teal these days, although it is making a little bit of a comeback. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
But that's just kind of what it was. You know, you follow the hot design colors and trends of the time, and that's
And I
what you
think
do.
that's kind of why people might be hating on this Utah inaugural season logo, Tom, because again, and we will bring back to what came before them and the Arizona Coyotes. They were super popular for the Kachina. We're talking about complicated logos. The Kachina it had a lot going on, but it
Yes.
was so well beloved. Everyone loved it. I'll even say I loved it. I love the Kachina logo. I love the Kachina. I love the Kachina jersey. That is an exception to the rule that we were just talking about because I think I think it's a very cultural thing there. It has that cultural identity to it. People just loved it.
See, I wasn't from there, and I always thought it was ugly. But once I moved
Under
to the area, I understood it a little bit more. I'm like,
Yeah,
okay, this makes sense to me now. But that's very easy for someone from the Northeast to dump all over because they have zero idea what the background on that logo is. I
exactly. But
didn't. I had no idea.
yeah, but still, regardless, I still think a lot of people did like it. Like even
Oh yeah,
whatever it was, they loved it. One
the
of the most
Roadrunners went to a Kachina logo, and
yeah
it looks cool.
yeah one of the most popular retro NHL logos that you will have, that people talk about.
Yep.
Um,
I actually
and
really like it on the purple jersey too. It looks cool.
Oh, yeah, it was so good. And I think that's kind of why this Utah right now is getting so hate because they went from that to this. But I think, and this kind of it's going to kind of go into what we're talking about later. You have to remove yourself from that because yes, this team was once the Arizona Coyotes, but for all intents and purposes, they're not the Arizona Coyotes. They do not attach themselves to that history. And a lot of us are going to want to think about that because it's the same players, it's the same coaching staff, but they're not.
Different record book.
Yeah.
No, brand new stats. All starts at zeros. There is no franchise history.
So I feel like that's kind of why we need to, people just need to distance themselves from that. I know it's hard because we're just used to routine and what we've seen in a couple years past. but just distance yourself from that and kind of just and you if you sit at a detach, just sure. Is there still hate, especially because of the name and saying, oh, they should have a name by now or whatever it might be. People are going to talk about that. I know that, but
And again, I don't think it has anything to do with they couldn't design a logo in time. They absolutely could have. But what people don't understand, and we've talked about this before, is what the general public doesn't understand is how long it takes to get stuff made. And I'm talking about jerseys. I'm talking about merch. I'm talking about all that stuff. You can print t-shirts and hats fairly quickly, but the jerseys are made in a batch, and they make all your jerseys at once.
Especially Tom. I saw a post on Twitter or X of when the relocation was announced from for the Quebec Nordiques from Quebec City to Colorado to become the Colorado Avalanche. It was almost instantaneous. Same thing, when the Winnipeg Jets moved to Phoenix to become the Phoenix Coyotes. It was the name change was what appeared instantaneous. Those were different because they kind of knew that those relocations were happening a year in advance. So the new city was kind of like getting ready. They were able to know, all right, we're looking at identities. We're looking at what we can do. We can get ready to be printed. Utah had the situation where they didn't know. They really did not know that they were going to get a team up until that weekend in April. It just it was sprung on everybody. So you take a look at that. You're not going to get a turnaround like that, especially, and again, this is where I was getting the especially, Tom, with the transition of jersey producer from Adidas to Fanatics, because now you have the completely new producer. They're working a completely different timeline because they got to make new jerseys for everybody.
And here's the other thing. It doesn't just take 2 weeks to make a logo. It takes revisions. It takes changes.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no reason to rush something you're going to be stuck with for 20 years. Take your time, get it. Absolutely. And now they can go through as many revisions as they want from now until literally Christmas.
That's why they have the time. That's why they did. That's why they have Utah Hockey Club as the official name for season 1. They have simple logos, which I still love. I like these logos. The inaugural season logo is cool. I like that he mentioned the Mountain Peaks design at the top. I was going to bring it up once again. Really kind of is a testament to the city. Right there at the the base of the Wasatch Mountains. Like it's cool. I like I like it. I really do. Those that say otherwise, and again, I hate to call you out, but you're either a bitter Coyotes fan, or B, you just want to project hate somewhere.
I also have to say about it, I love that it's symmetrical because I really enjoy symmetry. So I enjoy that.
Of course. I think a lot of people. There were a lot of other design things I can go to. I studied graphic design in school, but I don't want to go into the intricacies. And we're a little bit out of time on this segment, because we're going to get to a projection of a future Mount Rushmore. We'll explain right after this. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. I love sports. I love them so much. I never want them to stop. But as the playoffs wind down, we get fewer games, and sports aren't sportsing like I want them to. But FanDuel lets me keep the sports going whenever I want. All I have to do is open up the app and dream up bets anytime I'm in the mood. And this summer, FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head on over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. Let's keep things going on this episode. Robyn Leonio, Tom Callahan, Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. A lot of other shows, Tom, of the Locked On NHL network side, the NHL side, we're kind of going through this off season. A lot of them, at least earlier this off season, are doing it this week or maybe next week, or wherever it might be. They're talking Mount Rushmores for their teams. Who are Mount Rushmores for the team in franchise history? We're in a unique situation where, as of right now, we can't really label a true Mount Rushmore because, as we mentioned in the last segment, it's a completely new franchise, technically. In all technicality, the record books from Coyotes do not carry over, so it is a completely new team that we're starting from zero. So we can't really name a Mount Rushmore today, but what we can do is maybe start making some projections. We're going to start maybe with maybe some of our first two, and then maybe the next two from there in the next segment. But it's really interesting. Maybe we can do at least to start off for the first 5 years, and then 5 years from now, and then 10 years from now, whatever it might be. It's going to be a really interesting thought process and discussion that we can bring here.
Well, I think if you're making one right now today, it's you, it's me, Bill Armstrong, and Andre Tournier. So
there we go.
That's who I'm voting for on the Mount Rushmore of today for the Utah Hockey Club. We clearly belong on there with our classically chiseled features. I think that this is an interesting one, isn't it? Simply because, as we did mention, brand new franchise. The record book starts here. It starts in September, starts in October. So it's something to look forward to, knowing that you just had a good draft. You have a good crop of, for the most part, young talent. And if we're talking 5 and 10 years down the road, this is the impact we're looking at. I'm not talking about a guy who's going to come in, light it up year one, and might not be here in year two. So Ian Cole's kind of out the window. I don't think, Ian Cole's going to be around in 5 years. He'll probably be retired. Respectfully, he'll be retired.
Yeah.
So I think we begin to look at the players who will have. So what are my classic categorizations for someone who belongs in a Mount Rushmore? I think longevity is one of them. I think that production is another one. But I also believe that fan popularity and endearment to the Salt Lake community is another one that has to go into this picking of a player for me. So do you have other conditions that you would apply?
I feel like I think you really nailed on those conditions. I'm trying to think, because I had a couple others that literally just live in my head on this one. I think, the biggest one for me was one that you mentioned. I think is the being that endearment with the community, because we're talking about a kind of player who is embraced and is loved by this by the city and just wants to if you're talking like I said, you could let's say 10 years from now you're talking about greatest players. There's got to be there's going to be someone or who instantly is going to go snap at the finger, this person, because I loved what they did for the city.
And I believe that player could have been just drafted. That player could be someone who's on the roster right now. Mm-hmm. Also, I think so it's interesting, right? The first name, when you think of someone who's already endeared themselves to the community, has got to be Liam O'Brien.
Of course.
Will he belong on a Mount Rushmore in 5 years? Will he belong on it in 10 years? I don't think he's got a case for the 10-year one, but he might have a case for the 5-year one. He could be the fourth inclusion.
Maybe the maybe that 5-year one kind of just be there for just that level. If you're looking at just that because of that endearment, because he's already the city's already fallen in love with him.
Absolutely. How could you not? But now here's the thing. He could have a case for the 10-year one if he finishes his career in Salt Lake, stays there, stays popular, then goes on to maybe become a broadcaster or a team ambassador or an assistant coach, sticks around, maybe joins the front office. If he becomes that guy and is around and is popular, is out in the community, okay, maybe we can talk about including him on the 10-year. But I think he's got a shot at the 5-year for me right now.
Absolutely. And again, it goes to with, and we talked about Liam O'Brien earlier this offseason. and the kind of player he is on the ice too, right? Like he might not be the best goal scorer, point getter. That's fine. Like not everyone needs to be that. But as we mentioned too, he's the guy that lays hits and is able to force turnovers to get the puck back. Like it's kind of what you want out of a player too, right? It's hockey. It's
Right.
hockey.
Right. It is. And it takes a village to win a game. I mean, you can't have a team of all just 30 goal scorers and expect to win. It doesn't quite work itself out that way. So I think, yeah, he's definitely there, especially on the fan popularity side of things. And then I'm trying to think of other guys. Like I'm going to go ahead and say Connor Ingram because I got to name at least one goalie.
Of course you do.
He's a guy, right? He's a guy who I think potentially could be on my list of players who could make it if his development continues, and he is already a good story. Winning the Masterton Trophy, I think that he has a lot going for him, for lack of a better term, PR wise, just like Liam O'Brien does. So I really think that those two guys can nail it on the popularity end of the scale, can come in and be impactful in the community and on the ice.
Certainly would be would be an interesting choice. Again, he really has become endeared after not having the best career of other teams. And with Arizona, he kind of reached a new height, and I think he's only starting to get there with Utah. I can focus on. We talked about it earlier this week. We talked about it, we talked about it last week. We talked about it earlier this offseason. It's I think we all have that same sentiment about Connor Ingram, and could very well be one of the picks if you want to include a goaltender in there. I think no doubt about it. It's going to be like his name would deserve to be up there. What I want to do, Tom, is I want to give some of my other thoughts too. Some other players who we could put up there. And again, not saying we have to or we will, but kind of like, because again, we're just workshopping. We're thinking about potentials, and then maybe we can kind of narrow it down and figure things out. But we'll do that right after this. So, one of the things I really want to get to, Tom, is there are a number of players out of, let's say, the top 6 forwards right now who you can easily throw a dart. That person's name comes up, and you're like, all right, does this person deserve to be in the top 6? I mean, deserve to be on the Mount Rushmore because of the potential impact that they will make 5 to 10 years down the road. Because that core is going to be a huge part of this future for the franchise. So throw a dart, lands on Logan Cooley, the easiest one.
Okay. I think that is a pretty easy dart to throw.
Right? It's an easy dart to throw. You're looking at him, it's like, oh, well. It's like, who knows exactly the impact he's going to make 5 years from now? So maybe not 5 years, but I have almost without a doubt can make that 10-year one.
I could absolutely see that. It'd be hard to argue with that because 10 years from now, he'll be 30. And I think he'll be just past the peak of his career. Still probably a very good everyday NHL player. Josh Doan is another young name that I'm going to throw out there as well. And a lot of the names that we can throw out are going to be young guys. I mean, Iginla, obviously, TJ Iginla.
Yeah.
You have to think about him. Not for the 5-year one, though. No, to your point, more for the 10-year. These guys are more for the 10-year, unless somebody explodes. Look, if Logan Cooley suddenly becomes a 50-goal scorer next year, okay.
Certainly. Certainly.
All right, then we're talking about him on the 5-year. So, but in the meantime, I think you're looking to some of the slightly older guys, like a Clayton Keller is a guy who I think could be on that 5-year.
I would almost guarantee him on that 5-year.
Okay,
especially if he keeps the pace that he's been doing the last couple of years.
Okay,
if he continues that pace, I would easily have him on that 5-year. Whether or not he stays is really dependent on what these younger guys do, really. because again, Logan Cooley, Dylan Gunther, those guys can potentially really break out. Yeah, the other like Tisha Ginla, like you mentioned, can really potentially break out and make and just like my name deserves to be up there.
Absolutely. And on a Mount Rushmore, there's only room for 4.
Yep,
Keep
there
that
is
in
only room
mind.
for 4. Yep, and I think, and like I said, we've named a lot of people. We're workshopping, and like I said, we'll narrow it down, and we'll try to get to a 4 for the 5-year and a 4 for the 10-year. But a lot of the names that we did, like you could certainly make arguments for every single one of them for each moment of those periods.
I'm going to go out on a limb, Robyn,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm going to guarantee one name on both the 5 and the 10-year.
Okay.
And it's going to be Mikhail Sergachev.
All right. I like that. I like that.
Guarantee it will be on both the 5 and the 10-year.
I want to hear. I want to hear your reasoning behind it. I mean, like I'm not saying I disagree with you. I want to hear it though. Like that's
so Sergachev is going to be for probably maybe even the next 20 years, the point leading defenseman in franchise history. I'm going to predict a very strong comeback off of this surgery. And at age 26, the 10-year puts him at 36. That is the wind down of a career. So I think that could be when Sergachev is riding out on the sunset of perhaps being with the Utah Hockey Club if he stays for the duration of that time period. But I think setting all kinds of defensive scoring records, an exciting, dynamic defenseman, someone who's going to bring the fans out of their seats, who's going to always have people just waiting with bated breath every time he touches the puck. And I think that is the kind of dynamic player he can be from the back end. I really think Sergachev is going to be that player for this Utah Hockey Club. So yeah, I see big points. I see a lot of numbers, especially with the emphasis in today's NHL on having a top quality power play, PP1 QB. It just all lines up for Sergachev to be an absolute stud and be one of the most memorable players of the first decade of the UHC.
And I can certainly see that. I think for me, I think the reason why I had a like almost a hard time, necessarily not like a really hard time, but like a bit of a cloudy picture of that is because of his injury past. So I'm like, okay, I got to figure out if he can get, but you're right. If he gets past those injuries and just becomes the best version of himself, of what we expect him to be, injury-free, a version of himself, I have no doubt. You're right. You're 100% right. He will be a guaranteed on both of those.
I just feel like that is, to me, that is the closest thing, even among all the offensive players. I mean, Clayton Keller is someone who I think is on the 5-year, but might not be on the 10-year.
No, it's really interesting. Like I said, right? 5 years from now, if he keeps things up, no doubt about it, he's on that 5-year. But the thing is, he's my age, right? He's 27. But 10 years from now, he's 37. That's towards the end. But not to saying he won't be great by then. He probably would have done a lot for the team. But we're talking about other players who are coming into this franchise who have the potential to be even greater. Like how awesome is that? Like right. I'm talking really high on Clayton Keller, and I think he's a phenomenal player. But there are some players out there who have the potential to be even greater by that 10-year mark. That's the really cool thing about the future of this franchise.
All right, so I've got 3 of my 4 on the 5-year then. I've got Liam O'Brien, Clayton Keller, Mikhail Sergachev. I have room for 1 more on my 5-year. What are you looking at for a 5-year right now?
For a 5-year, it's really. I mean, that's a really good one. Like, yeah, for that, if I want to help fill out that 5 that you have right there,
or you can go with your own. You don't have to copy mine. If you disagree, that's fine.
I mean, I have a feeling. I mean, that 5 I actually like. I like that 5. I like that 5-year one that you have. The 3 that you have already.
What about Lawson Krause?
That's so it's interesting because my name, I was kind of taking a look at the potential putting Lawson Krause up there, and I was about to say his name, but then I kind of froze for a minute. I'm like, is there anybody else who I'd put above Lawson Krause? That's the kind of thought process I was trying to go through in the last 30 seconds. And in those 30 seconds, I couldn't think of anyone at this moment who I think has potential to surpass him within the 5 year mark. Maybe within 10. Yeah, within 10 years, sure. But within 5 years, not so much.
What
So
about Sean Dursey?
I think I love him. I think he's great. But I think he'd be right on that, just right on the outside.
Okay. So you think is spicy tuna on your 5 year?
On my spicy tuna on my 5 year.
Yeah.
That's actually a good question. Like, I love the points that you made, and love the welcome that he had. I kind of want to I just want a player on there too, Tom, who, and again, not saying, like I said, I made some really good points of why he deserves to be on there, but I don't anticipate him playing very many games. Like at least again, he's bottom. He's like bottom six, kind of get changed in with other extra players depending on the need.
Oh
I
yeah,
just don't.
he's absolutely going to be in and out of the lineup.
Yeah,
Absolutely, yeah.
like in and out of the lineup. I want a player on there within the 5 years, and again, we're running out of time here, so I want to try to round up some of these thoughts. Who is like always, like almost always in the lineup by that 5 year mark, almost always in the lineup. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back on that and say, no, I don't think Liam O'Brien will be on the 5 year. So Sergachev, Keller, Krause. That's where it gets interesting for my last one. To take a look, you gotta really think about that one.
So I'm going to go. I'm going to punch my ticket for the 5 year while you're doing your looking. I'm going to go ahead and go with Keller. I'm going to keep O'Brien. I'm going to put Sergachev on there, and I think I'm going to put Lawson Krause as my fourth on the 5 year Utah HC Mount Rushmore. That's what I'm going to see, and then I'll start to build my tenure here, and I think it's going to be almost completely different by the time I get there, because I expect a lot out of the rookies and out of the young guys. I really think down the road, I think I'm going to have Tijik Inla. I'm going to have Logan Cooley on there. I think those guys are going to be awesome. I'm keeping Sergachev. I told you, he's my stone cold lock. He's going to be on there. And then again, I'm going to need a fourth player who's going to go on there, and I've got to figure out who that impact player is going to be. But maybe Keller stays. Ooh, Dylan Gunther's good. That is a good one. I know you're a big Dylan Gunther guy. You know what? I expect a lot out of Josh Stone. I am not going to lie. I expect a lot out of Josh Stone. I don't know if he's ever quite going to get to be what his old man was, but he has the potential just because of, again, the bloodline with Iginla. Josh Stone could be that guy for me. He could really be the franchise guy. Can you imagine if you had Shane Doan and Jerome Iginla on the same franchise for 10 years together? Well, you got a chance to have their kids on the same franchise for 10 years together. That's wild to me. What an incredible pairing that could be.
Oh man, I love it. I love it.
Could be huge.
Like not only that is, and again, we talked about the potential, that potential of Mount Rushmore's. There is a possibility that those two names are on that 10-year Mount Rushmore. Like that, like just say, like, it's like if you say, oh yeah, who's on the Mount Rushmore of Utah in 10 years, and you name those two last names, they're like, whoa, those are iconic last names. not
Right.
only for them, but also their dads in the NHL as well. That family, those families that is hockey blood right there.
It's hockey royalty.
Yeah, hockey royalty, 100%. Um,
All right, I need to hear
you know,
your 5 and your 10
if
year
I
here. What are you doing?
so all right.
You got to
So
make a
like I mentioned,
decision. You can't say I want everybody on here. That's not fair.
I know it's hard. It is hard. But rounding out my 5, as I mentioned, so I already had Keller, I had Sergachev on there, and I had Krause. I'm gonna go ahead and go out on a limb and say by that point, I've already been high on. I've already known that this player is going to be great. I mean, when they first drafted him, only a couple years ago, everyone talked about he's going to be a potential superstar capabilities. Logan Cooley. I'm going to put Logan Cooley on that 5.
Wow. It's a gutsy pick, but I like it. You're
It
going
is a
for it.
gutsy pick. It is. I am going for it. I was thinking about it. I was like, do I want to do it? Is it too soon? But you know what? His ceiling is there. I'm giving it to him.
Okay.
10-year. Cooley stays. Keller stays. Gunther, because again, I've been high. Gunther, think he's gonna do some great things. Cooler, Kelly, Gunther. Who's my 4th?
Are you keeping Sergachev?
Keeping Sergachev. Yeah, I'm keeping Sergachev.
Okay. All right. So ours vary just enough so that one day, 10 years from now, we can go back and watch this podcast and decide which one of us was right. And then we could talk about why it was me. So,
Oh,
but I like it. I like it. And you know what? I think this will be a fun topic for the fans to kick around in the chat too. And just
yeah. I
have a good
wanna.
time
I
with.
wanna know. To all the fans listening, who will be on your Mount Rushmore 5 years from now and 10 years from now? Give us both. Drop them down in the comments. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're listening on anywhere else, just go ahead and tag us on Twitter or X, and then say these are my my future Mount Rushmore players. Kind of want to know where your head's at, because I think a lot of us can have varying different thoughts. There's probably going to
Yeah.
be a lot of overlap. Again, there's a lot of these players who really have high potential, and I think it really shows. If there's overlap, I think that shows that we're probably getting something right.
I think so. I think so too, and I think that it's nice to feel like you're spoiled for choice, especially on that 10-year team, to be able to project more than 4 players that you think are going to be of the quality to be on there right now without even having seen some of them play at the pro level. I think is fantastic. So it
Oh,
bodes well for
certainly.
the future of the franchise.
It really does. Any final thoughts before we close things off?
I think we covered it today.
It was great. I love the conversation. Definitely took a lot of thought process, because again, we love so many players that it was hard to narrow it down before. And I think that's really cool thing about what a Mount Rushmore conversation brings, especially when we're projecting and not really just looking at the history, because there is no history for this
Right.
Utah Hockey Club franchise, technically. But that's going to be it for this episode of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. If you like what you heard, don't forget to leave a review, like, comment, subscribe if you've yet to already. We are available everywhere you get your shows, including YouTube, Sirius XM, ad-free on Amazon Music. Don't forget to interact with us on social media. We are on Instagram, Threads, and X at LO_NHL Utah. I am personally at Robyn_Leano. Tom Callahan is at Callahan on air. And also, don't forget to interact and join our text club at 801-760-9033. But 801-760-9033 gets exclusive content. Text us one-on-one, ask us any question, and we can answer some of those on future episodes of the Locked On Utah Hockey Club podcast. Thanks again, everyone, for listening on today's episode, and we'll see you guys next time.